In a valley cradled by gentle hills lay the town of Lumina, a place so named because its nights were never truly dark. Lumina was an enchantment woven not of stone and wood, but of dreams. Every morning, its citizens woke with spirits as light as air, their hearts brimming with courage and joy, all thanks to the special light that governed their sleep. The beautiful, carefully crafted dreams. The heart of this nocturnal magic was Lyra, the town's most treasured inhabitant. She was a maiden whose light brown hair, the color of sun-dried straw, seemed to catch the moonlight even in shadow. Lyra was the dream weaver. Her gift was the delicate, powerful ability to harvest the gossamer threads of Moonsilk, strands of pure, concentrated moonlight that only appeared on the night of the new moon. In a small, open-air studio surrounded by wind chimes that whispered forgotten melodies, Lyra worked. With needles carved from polished jade and a loom made of shimmering cloudwood, she wove the Moonsilk into tapestries of sleep. She wove gentle visions of flying on the backs of silent swans, of feasting with friendly woodland animals, and of discovering hidden gardens where laughter grew on vines. As the last lights of the village faded, Lyra would release her finished creations into the cool night air. The dream tapestries would flutter down, settling over Lumina like a soft, invisible blanket, ensuring every soul slept soundly and sweetly. In Lumina, there was no sadness, no fear, only the promise of a golden awakening. The peace of Lumina was shattered one dark, moonless night. Lyra, working at her loom, noticed a dreadful change. The Moonsilk, usually a vibrant, luminous white, was dull, almost gray. She felt a coldness in the air that had nothing to do with the temperature, a deep, pervasive absence. That night, when she released her dreams, they seemed to fall heavy and sluggishly, like stones instead of feathers. The next morning, the change in Lumina was startling and frightening. The townsfolk woke not with joy, but with dread. A baker, known for his perpetual whistling, could not stop his hands from shaking. Children cried with a strange, nameless terror. They all shared the same experience, a sleep filled with fragmented, unsettling images, doors that led nowhere, voices that whispered cruel words, and the sensation of being chased by a shape that had no form. Nightmares had come to Lumina. Lyra rushed back to her studio, her heart pounding. The remaining Moonsilk on her loom was tarnished, and the delicate threads had been visibly snapped, as if deliberately pulled apart by a grasping, unseen hand. She realized, with chilling certainty, her dreams were not just failing, they were being stolen. Hidden deep within the collective subconscious, nestled in a forgotten corner of the mind, was the Shadow Thief, a being known only as Morwen. Morwen was a solitary, bitter creature, a spirit born from the envy and loneliness of long-forgotten ages. He despised the gentle light of Lumina and the easy happiness of its people. Morwen did not merely steal the dreams, he consumed them, twisting the beautiful Moonsilk visions into the substance of his own dark world. He stored his loot in glass jars sealed with shadows, feeding on the despair they contained. His lair was the legendary, dangerous maze of the unconscious, a labyrinth built of confusion, doubt, and the mind's darkest secrets. Morwen was determined to blot out Lumina's light forever, turning its citizens into walking shadows whose only companion was fear. The despair of Lumina grew heavier each day, suffocating the laughter and creativity that once defined the town. Lyra watched, heartbroken, as vibrant colors faded from clothing and warm smiles turned into worried frowns. She knew she was responsible. Her gift was meant to protect them, and now she must use it to save them. With fierce determination, Lyra sought counsel from the village's oldest resident, Elder Theron, who tended the ancient archive of whispers. Theron, his eyes nearly closed by time, listened to her tale of the stolen dreams. "Morwen," he rasped, nodding slowly. "He is a creature of the maze of the unconscious. No living body can survive there, for the maze is built of the mind's raw power, your worst fears and deepest doubts made solid." He lifted a trembling hand and pointed to a silvered circular map etched with swirling lines. "You must go, Lyra, but you cannot go alone. You need a guide that is pure light, one that knows the secret paths of the mind." Lyra prepared for her quest, gathering her jade needles and a pouch of her finest remaining moonsilk. Just as she was about to step toward the forest's edge, she saw a flicker of soft golden illumination beneath her studio's loom. It was a firefly, but unlike any she had ever seen. It was the size of her thumb, yet it glowed with an internal, steady flame, a tiny, fierce star. "Are you the guide?" Lyra whispered. The firefly zipped around her head, tracing the shape of a guiding arrow in the air. She named him Zephyr, for the gentle west wind that brings good tidings. Zephyr communicated not in words, but in the intensity of his glow and the direction of his flight. He was a fragment of pure light, a stray thought of hope that had escaped the maze long ago. With Zephyr resting on her shoulder, Lyra took a deep breath, clutching her weaving tools, and together, the Weaver and the Light entered the tangled roots at the border of the forest, the gate to the dark and twisting maze of the unconscious. The entrance to the maze was not a grand archway, but a swirling mist that smelled of old, forgotten rain. Stepping through it, Lyra found herself in a place where the laws of the physical world did not apply. The ground shifted constantly. Paths appeared only to vanish behind her, and the sky above was a confusing tapestry of swirling grays and bruise-colored purples. This was the maze of the unconscious, a terrifying landscape shaped by the minds of the sleeping. "Be brave, Lyra," chirped Zephyr in his language of light, darting forward. His glow, though small, was the only consistent thing in the chaos. Their first great obstacle was the mirror of self-doubt. It materialized suddenly, a tall obsidian sheet reflecting not Lyra's appearance, but her deepest fears. In the mirror, she saw a trembling, clumsy girl whose hands were too stiff to weave, whose thread was turning to mud, and whose town was cursing her failure. "You are not strong enough. Your dreams were always fragile, and now you have failed Lumina forever," the mirror whispered with 1,000 cold voices. Lyra froze, her breath catching in her throat. She wanted to believe the reflection, to simply turn back and weep. But Zephyr flew straight into the mirror's surface, his light flashing brilliantly. The jolt snapped Lyra back to reality. She looked down at the jade needle in her hand. It was a tool of creation, not destruction. She closed her eyes and, remembering the feeling of the Moonsilk on her fingers, she silently recited the names of all the joyful dreams she had ever woven. The strength of her memories was her defense. When she opened her eyes, the mirror of self-doubt cracked, shattering into pieces that instantly dissolved into harmless vapor. They pressed on, navigating paths lined with forgotten memories that tried to pull Lyra into overwhelming nostalgia or consuming regret. Finally, they reached the most dangerous zone, the pit of forgotten joys. It was a massive chasm, its depths filled with a silent, heavy darkness that was the essence of all lost happiness. To cross, they had to leap across a bridge made of thin, shifting planks of solidified sorrow. Lyra knew she couldn't simply walk across. She needed to counter the sorrow. Taking the last precious threads of Moonsilk from her pouch, she sat down on the edge of the pit. With quick, focused movements, she wove unadulterated delight. The finished image, the joy knot, glowed warmly. She tossed it gently across the chasm. Where the joy knot landed, the solidified sorrow shifted, forming a solid, shimmering pathway of gold-white light. Following the light, Lyra and Zephyr crossed to the other side. They had survived the trials. Just ahead, built into the wall of the maze, was a gate carved in the shape of a screaming face, and beyond it, Lyra could see glass jars of black and swirling substance, Morwen's hidden lair. Lyra and Zephyr slipped through the screaming gate and entered Morwen's lair. The chamber was cavernous and cold, lit only by the faint, malevolent glow of the thousands of stolen dreams trapped in black glass jars. Morwen, a tall, gaunt figure draped in swirling shadows, turned slowly. His eyes were hollow sockets of pure, concentrated resentment. "So, the little weaver comes to retrieve her trinkets," Morwen hissed, his voice a dry, rasping sound like leaves dragged across stone. "You weave joy so easily, Lyra. It's a weakness. Happiness is fleeting, but fear is eternal. I am building a world where only the shadows I weave remain." He raised a bony hand, and the lids of several jars popped open. Dark, corrupted dreams, swirling with images of panic and abandonment, shot out like black tendrils, attempting to ensnare Lyra. She sidestepped the first wave, but the shadows were cold, and merely touching them made her heart clench with paralyzing dread. "Your fears are delicious," Morwen gloated. "I will weave you into my greatest nightmare." Lyra felt her resolve wavering, but then she looked at Zephyr, who was circling furiously, his light pushing back against the encroaching darkness. She remembered Elder Theron's words. She was a weaver, and her power was creation. She wouldn't fight Morwen with darkness. She would fight him with the purest light. Lyra took a deep breath. She pulled out her jade needles and the last remnants of her Moonsilk. Ignoring the frantic, whispered lies of the shadows, she focused all her love for Lumina, all the memories of its golden mornings and the sound of its children's laughter into the threads. She worked faster than she had ever had before, her fingers a blur of motion. She was weaving not a tapestry of sleep, but a dream of hope. The resulting creation was small but blindingly bright, a core of light shaped like a gentle sun, radiating tendrils of Moonsilk that seemed to sing. As Lyra finished the dream of hope, she didn't throw it at Morwen. Instead, she released it high into the air. The light it emitted was not a weapon, but a powerful truth. It shone through the black jars, bathing the stolen dreams in its purity. It didn't destroy Morwen's dark power, but simply made it irrelevant. The light fell on Morwen himself, illuminating the raw, aching loneliness at his core. For the first time in centuries, the Shadow Thief felt something other than bitterness. He dropped his guard. The power holding the jars captive dissolved with a sigh, and thousands of luminous, restored dreams burst from the glass, filling the lair with a swirling, beautiful storm of joy. As the multitude of rescued dreams swirled out of Morwen's lair and rushed back towards Lumina, the Shadow Thief sank to his knees, utterly depleted but strangely calm. The dream of hope Lyra had woven remained glowing in the air, a gentle sentinel. It did not banish Morwen, but instead offered him a choice. "You do not have to live in the shadow, Morwen," Lyra said softly, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "The maze is large enough for light and darkness both." Morwen looked at the radiant sphere of hope, and for the first time, he saw not a threat, but a path. He vowed to Lyra that he would no longer steal. Instead, he would stay in the maze, a solitary guardian, using his knowledge of shadows to warn and guide those who strayed too close to true despair. Holding Zephyr close, Lyra stepped back through the misty entrance. The journey home was swift, and the moment they re-entered the forest, Lyra felt the warmth of the restored dreams settling over the town. When the sun finally rose over Lumina, it was a day unlike any before. The townsfolk woke with a profound, grateful joy, their hearts not just happy, but aware of the darkness they had escaped. They cherished their dreams more deeply now. Lyra, the heroic weaver, continued her sacred task, but she never forgot her journey. She now wove a small, intricate knot of dark thread into every tapestry of sleep, not the darkness of fear, but the acknowledgement of its existence, a constant reminder that courage and hope shine brightest after the shadow has passed. Lumina lived happily, eternally guarded by the Weaver of Dreams and the solitary, unexpected guardian in the depths of the unconscious.